So far we've just been looking at positional concepts. Now I'd like to look at the more tactical side of king and pawn endings, and this is where the creativity comes in that I mentioned in the introduction. In fact, there are loads of tactics in king and pawn endings. You really have to be alert the whole time. One of the most important ideas is that of the pawn breakthrough to get a queen. Obviously that's the end of the game. So here's a really simple one. If you haven't seen this already, well, you ought to have done. But okay, let's go through it very quickly. White is going in this direction. If the pawns become blocked, for example, if f6, then, well, black can actually play g6 as well, but let's just do this one. And now we march the king across to take this pawn, and that's the end of the game. Black will win. So basically, because of the very poor position of white's king, white needs a breakthrough, and he has that with g6. This is a winning move. If pawn takes, you now play the clever move f6. Very neat indeed. And h6, and the pawn goes through. And likewise, if f takes, then h6 will win, and the f pawn goes through. Okay, that's a very simple pawn breakthrough. Let's try another one. Okay, a little bit more complex. Same position of the kings. So if the position of the pawns becomes blocked, then black's king will simply come over and scoop them. Can white use the same kind of tactic as in the previous example? Well, no, actually, this is more complex. There is a way for white to break through and white to win. Well, let's look at some of the failures first. f5, for example. Well, let's say pawn takes f5, and now if pawn takes, well, we can see that black will win very, very easily just by coming across to take the pawn. Okay, let's just get rid of that, and let's go back. Okay, after f5, what happens if g5? Well, this one simply doesn't work because the pawns are higher up the board. Excuse me, just 1 second. Black can take, and black just keeps on taking, and this one simply doesn't work because black's pawn gets there as well. And it's time for the nuclear weapons to enter, and it's fatal for white. So this is white's problem in the starting position, that of course he can break through, but he needs to do so in a way that, well, doesn't allow black to do something nasty. And there is a way to win. Basically, white needs to queen on this square, and he'll gain a move because it'll be check. Now this is such a common theme in pawn endings. You've got to spot where your opponent's king is, and very often you can win because you queen with check. There's only one way for white to do this, and that's to play h5 first. Only winning move. If g5, then e5 wins. So for example, here, and f5, very important that we queen on this square. So takes, let's just go through it and see here, and we check. King moves away, and we can just take this one. Let's go back. So after h5, let's say takes, and now here's the very clever move, e5. So again, we threaten to queen here, so the pawn must move. And now, very important, f5, and white will queen on f8, checking, and wins the game. Okay, how likely is it that we're going to get a position like this with these 4 pawns together? Well, unlikely, but the concept is very, very important. Watch where your opponent's king is and watch out for these pawn breakthroughs. They're actually very, very common. Here's another example. This was described by Averbach and Mazelis in their classic work on pawn endings as the circular or quartet breakthrough. Now this is a common kind of pawn structure. Same kind of problem. Black's king traps white's king. If the position gets blocked, black will just come over and take these pawns with an easy win. So white must break through, and he can break through. It doesn't matter which you go for, c5 and b5 are both winning. So if black takes, then we queen here. Okay, the king comes across, and now the clever move b5. Threat to play c6. So black takes on b5, and now the winning move is c6 and a6, and white gets there first with a winning position. Again, it's another example where one side has a space advantage, in this case with the pawns, and that allows him to break through.